So I think a big part of it is keeping yourself moving, even when it's hard. And within limitations, I think it's great to keep your routine the best as you can. If you wake up and go to the gym at 5 a.m., if you have a leg injury, go back to the gym, work your arms, work your abs, work your back, do what you can. Every time that you would normally go to the gym, go and do other things.
So, Alex, the way we've been starting the podcast for a while is I always ask everyone what they have for breakfast this morning. So, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a egg casserole. It has like a sweet potato base with eggs, peppers, and onions in
Dang,
it.
do you meal prep that?
Heck yeah.
Very
I got time to cook every day.
Yeah, like do you do that every week? You have the same thing, or do you mix it up?
So I pretty much have the same thing every week because I also found out that it freezes. So I'll batch cook like 4 of those suckers at one time.
Oh, very
and
nice.
then put them in weak containers.
And yeah, we're good to go. What about you, Phil? What do you think?
What did I have for breakfast today? I had a cup of egg whites, 2 whole eggs, and 2 pieces of toast. I've been on that for about 3 weeks now.
All right.
It's been working well for me.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Sausage, sourdough, 2 pieces of sourdough, and 2 pasture-raised eggs.
Nice.
And scrambled
Dang.
with a little bit of Cajun seasoning and stuff on there. So that was really, really good with a coffee. So yeah.
Dang, the works.
Yes,
I love
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
You had me at sourdough.
Yes, same.
I love sourdough.
Yeah,
It's so good. But all right, everybody, we are good and we can get started.
Alex, before we get started, into really talking about overcoming injuries, the mental part behind injuries, I have a lot of input myself, so I'm interested in what you have to say. But what got you so interested in like the recovery and rehab kind of space? Because you're a personal trainer, right?
Yes, I'm a trainer and a coach. But what got me into it is when I first started getting into the industry is I worked in a place in Georgia called the Cantrail Center.
The what?
And the Cantrail Center.
Cantrail Center.
And the Cantrail Center is a physical therapy, wellness, and athletic performance place. So it's a one-stop shop. You can have everything from a high school athlete trying to better himself, to pro athletes, and then also your 97-year-old grandma that can hardly move.
Okay.
And everything in between. And so I fell in love with all aspects of it, but the 2 ends are my favorite. So I like athletic performance enhancement and injury prevention and post-rehab getting back into normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are my 2 favorites that I love.
When it comes to like those 2 spheres, I'm going to assume that they go together a lot because athletes are probably who get injured the most because they push themselves the hardest. Is that true?
I think that is true. And then like their rehab is more advanced. So like they start at the same thing, but you have to rehab them further than everybody else because their normal life is more than normal. And so, but even the normal, your average people, like everybody goes through the same things, like having stability and balance and all that. Like a back squat and a sit-to-stand is the same thing. It's just different.
Yeah. Well, Sean, it's the same, but it's different.
Yeah, same, but different.
Yeah.
Can't
It's
go wrong.
It's
Can't
the
go wrong
same
with that.
movement, though, right?
Yeah.
And so what I always say is, for a 65-year-old woman that doesn't move very well, it's just as difficult for her to do a sit-to-stand as it is for an athlete to do a 4 or 5 back squat.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
What's harder to rehab an athlete or to rehab like an average person in their 40s that suffered a gym injury?
That's an excellent question. So I would say they're equally hard in 2 different ways.
Okay, tell us.
So
about it.
your average person, it's going to be harder to rehab them back because they're not going to want to do it. You have to go through the suffrage, and they're like, I don't need to do that. I can slack off. And you can't, because that's making a decision that's going to last you the rest of your life. Like rehab's important. That's why we do it. And then the other is the athlete that just wants to go, 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 go. And you have to pull them back because they're going to re-injure themselves if they keep pushing too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's 2 different fights, same difficulty level.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. We're on the exact same page. I was just thinking when someone suffers an injury, and this is far, I'm a personal trainer as well, but injury rehabilitation is like far from my specialty for sure. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from you today as well. But that's the first thing that I thought is they're not going to be as dedicated to the little minor details that rehabilitation requires.
Yeah.
You know, why, maybe tell us why those details are so important in a rehab situation.
Because you're setting the foundation for what's going to pattern you for the next 20 to 60 years. So if you think you're okay and you're limping, you're not okay. And that's going to translate in 5 to 10 years into hip problems, into back problems. And they're going to say, my hips are out of line, or one leg's longer than the other. Like, no, you had an injury on this ankle and you didn't handle it. And now it's showing up all over your body. And so, like, the little details matter, because it's not just one area it affects. It's your entire body, and it's for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. When I was in my early 20s, I was just getting into fitness, and I used to play slow pitch softball. And, you know, back then I was just like trying to get as huge and jacked as possible, right? You know, early 20s guy, right? That's the goal. And then I went and played softball, and I completely destroyed my right hamstring. And, you know, at that time, I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know anything. I had just started working out, right? And it was, I bet it was like 8 years later, maybe just a couple of years ago. I'm 33 now. So it's probably like when I was like 30, 31. I started really experiencing some low back issues. And I went to see a doctor friend of mine, and we were going over my health history. And he was like, dude, I think all of this is connected to that hamstring injury you had when you were like 22. And I had never considered that.
Because the hamstring's number one position is just holding you up, and people don't think that. Like, its job is to hold your pelvis up. So if it's not, your back's going to suffer.
Yeah, and that's what was going on for sure. And when I really got into running, it started to flare up on me, and now even to this day, it's like the whole right side of my body's a problem. That's what I've discovered.
I'll give you my card after.
The hamstring, the glute, the shoulder, it's like the whole right side seems to be an issue, you know? But yeah, maybe kind of wrapping back to that. Let's talk about, like, obviously we have the physical side, right? And we'll get into that. I want to learn about that as well. But the mental effects of injury, like, I'm assuming that you've suffered an injury. So maybe we can just talk about your experience you've had with other people. Yeah. Maybe someone listening to this right now is trying to rehab, and they're just fed up with it. Maybe they're going through the mental thing, be like, I don't need to do this. I don't want to. This sucks. I was getting good progress before. Now I'm not. I don't want to work out. Like, what's going on in your head when you're going through an injury? You know?
So much goes through your head. So we spoke a little bit before the podcast about a pretty gnarly accident that I had where I bashed in my shin. I was in the water wakeboarding, and I got a bad infection from it. So that ended up being over a 3-month process where literally I had a bacteria eating out my flesh. And so I was fighting a terrible infection. Thank God I still have my leg. And it was just all these things. And so going through that, like, I'm a pretty chipper person. I don't find it that difficult to keep joy and positivity in my life. And so we're in this thing, and it's going, and it's slowly getting better. And then one day, like, I also have a team of doctors. So I'm at this clinic I already told you about. So I have wound care specialists and everybody there. And then I also have another doctor that's helping me. And so I get out of my car after work one day, and I step out, and the whole bandage that we had on my leg, basically keeping it together, just ripped off and took a decent chunk of my skin with it. And I broke down. This started like depression galore for like weeks. But like that night, like I cried for like 4 hours. My whole team were out of town that weekend. And so like I had nobody, and I was crying so bad. But like, you can't stay there. It's okay to hit that point, but you can't stay there. Because I think at the same time, as if you decide to stay there, like, that's where you're going to stay. So I think a big part of it is keeping yourself moving, even when it's hard, and within limitations. I think it's great to keep your routine the best as you can. If you wake up and go to the gym at 5 a.m., if you have a leg injury, go back to the gym, work your arms, work your abs, work your back, do what you can. Every time that you would normally go to the gym, go and do other things. Just work around it. I had an injury last year, and it was right before it was like 6 weeks out from a 70.3. And I sprained my ankle bouldering. I came off early and landed wrong. And I was like, oh no. And so I was in the gym. I don't have a recumbent bike at my gym, so I went to another gym and just got on a recumbent bike with my boot on. You just had to keep it going because 1, I don't have time to waste. 2, I can't risk hurting it further because I have to run 13 miles on this thing, and 3, I don't have time to get into that negative headspace. So you just have to keep pushing.
Did you still run that race?
Heck yeah.
Tell everybody what a 70.3 is.
I think, yeah, because I know what a 70.3 is.
Yeah.
So more people will know it as a half Ironman.
Yeah.
And so 70.3 is your not Ironman branded race. But it is a 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike, and a 13.1 mile run. And so
That's wild. How many of those have you done?
I've only finished the one.
Okay.
So I got to the starting line of one, and then just like things went very poorly in that
Okay.
race. And
But you finished the race.
I
After this
DNF'd one,
injury.
and then I finished one.
Oh
So-
my gosh. I mean, props to you for doing another one.
That's huge.
That's crazy.
I will not be defeated.
I see that.
Especially when you have like that ankle sprain, like that would take so many people out. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I was so upset, and so I spent 2 weeks in a boot, and then I spent 2 weeks working a lot on some of the exercises I'll tell you about later, like stability and stuff, and then got back to training and had a little bit of pain, but not much.
That's wild. I'd like
Got
to
through
wrap
it.
back around because you seem like I really want to tap into the mental piece of this because you said something earlier. You said it's okay to get there. I feel like a lot of people in the internet world right now would say you can't let yourself get down to those types of levels. But you're telling us that you can, just don't stay there. What's the difference and where does that come from?
If you say that you can't, you will never process emotions, which just builds up inside of you, which means one day you're just going to snap.
Mhm.
What that looks like could be different for anybody, but you have to go through your emotions. And then also, if they think it makes you weak to do it, they're completely wrong. So it makes you weak to be afraid of them. So like you should be able to face that and get back up. It's the same as being knocked down. It's the same. It's just emotionally being knocked down and getting back up.
Yeah, I
And
think the go hard like thing makes people just want to say that. Like you can't get to that level or whatever. But what's more important is what you're saying is accepting it for what it is.
Yeah.
Experience it and then overcome.
Yeah.
How do we do that though? Tell us about what that looks like for you. Because
I prepped for that.
Okay.
Oh, I hit the
man.
microphone. So sorry,
That's
Sean.
okay.
No, you're good. You got the clipboard out, man.
I got the
You're
clipboard
serious.
out.
Yeah.
So I knew I would miss things if
Okay.
I didn't write these down. So
Okay.
Phil, can we fit a clipboard in the podcast budget, man?
Yeah, I think we might have to, dude. I mean, that's stretching. That's stretching our financial limitations.
I am a
but
big clipboard person. I have so many. So I have like setting realistic goals. So keeping it small,
okay, yeah.
celebrating those victories. So it can be anything. Focus on what you can control. So like I said, your routine, your diet's another one. Positive narrative in your mind, maintaining, just knowing that you can get there. I'm a big fan of visualization. And so like thinking about that next time, or like getting off crutches or walking again, or not that those have happened to me, or something smaller. Practicing gratitude, being grateful for what you have. I think it's huge.
Yeah, it's a big
I
one.
think so many people skip past what that does to you.
Yeah, can you run us through that? Because I feel like we hear that a lot.
Oh,
But
even
but
here,
to
I
actually
wrote, write it down in capital.
write what down though?
What are you grateful for
Okay.
today? What are things that you're grateful for?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
The fact that we're sitting here right now,
yeah.
that's pretty
The
great.
weather. The weather.
The weather's
weather.
fantastic today.
Yeah.
Sourdough bread.
yeah.
I'm not grateful for your sourdough bread. No. I don't think you cannot go through a list of things that you are grateful for and remain in a negative mindset. So it is a perspective shift. And so much of keeping a positive mindset is being able to control your perspective. And so like you can be in this exact same situation and be injured, not be able to compete, not be able to do what you want to do. You're missing this event. I don't get to hang out with my friends, like all these different things. Or you can be like, I'm alive. I didn't break my back. I get to celebrate the fact that I still get to listen to music and see the world. I will get to experience things people don't get to experience. It's just for this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to do that right now, but I get to.
You know, something whenever I'm doing that, which I should do it more often, but if I'm in a particular situation, especially in a physical ailment, I just have overcome a shoulder injury. I went through physical therapy with a really good physical therapist friend of ours. Shout out to Christina at Elevated PT.
Love her.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we did. My wife and I both did physical therapy with Dr. Christina and helped a lot. And one of the major things that she did was keep my spirits up because I was really falling back onto going to do surgery.
Mm.
And she just kept telling me, you don't need to do that. You
That's
don't
my
need to
girl.
do that. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and she has a way of talking to you. She's like, well, Phil, like if that's something that you really want to do, give me this much time. And then we will. So that kind of like, well, she's not just trying to completely talk me out of it either.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, if we get to this point, then we will.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, so that gave me confidence that
Yeah.
like, she's not just selling me a pipe dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know, but anyways, so I recently went through this myself, and something that would help a lot was me specifically thinking about there is someone in the world that is dealing with this permanently. And I am so grateful that mine is temporary.
Yeah.
Now, in that moment, it's hard to remember that it's temporary because it feels permanent.
Yeah.
You know, for someone that wants to get out there and, you know, push yourself and you
Yeah.
can't, it feels permanent. But you just always remember this is temporary, but there's someone in the world that this is a permanent thing for.
Mhm.
So I should be grateful that it's not permanent for me. So just kind of specifically in the injury situation, that gratitude practice is helpful for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then going on what you were talking about, like some people, that's their reality. I actually have like watching inspirational or like reading inspirational things.
Mhm.
So like I'm a huge Bethany Hamilton fan.
Ooh, I don't know who that is.
What? So she's a surfer. She got her arm bit off by a shark.
Oh, I know. Soul
Like,
Surfer. Isn't
Yeah.
that her?
Yes.
and what she-
So Soul Surfer is about her.
Okay,
She has
yeah,
a few
yeah.
different like things. There's more like documentary styles about her too. But yeah, and then became a pro surfer.
Wow.
So it happened like when I think she was like 16, and
Mhm.
she's like arm gone.
Mhm.
And so she had her dad put a handle on her surfboard, and she figured out how to keep going with one arm.
Wow.
So, and then there's a couple others. I have a friend that actually just put out a book recently, and he got paralyzed wakeboarding. He did a massive double flip off of a mega ramp, and landed himself in a chair. And like his mindset is unbelievable.
In what way?
I would say that for people like us who make movement and like, especially like extreme lifestyle, a thing, to land yourself in a wheelchair, like he can hardly move his hands.
Mhm.
And yet the way he frames the world, like he's the blessed man.
Wow.
And like he radiates that.
Was he always like that, or
Mhm.
even before?
Yeah.
How do we become that? And you too, like you said it earlier. You know, you're an energy person. You walked in, you know, downstairs, and you know, like, how do you do that? Have you always been that way? Were you born that way? Did you have to train it? Like, how do we become your friend or yourself, or you know, that type of attitude?
That's hard to answer.
Do you think you were born with that? Have you always been that way? And then you were even when you were real young.
I think part of it is maybe slightly. And then part of it, like, I know how to fight for my joy. I know how to shift perspective. I know how to humble myself. I know how to find the best in others. I know how to find the best in situations. And so I think that has a huge thing to do with it about,
Do you do that on purpose, or does it happen naturally?
oh, I fight for joy.
Yeah, so you do. It is a struggle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you are fighting for it.
I
So it's
mean-
not easy.
Yeah. I'm an athlete that's been injured. I'm a business owner that's almost tanked my business. Like,
Oh, cool.
Hard days
You-
happen.
Yeah. we're with it. Yeah.
hard days happen.
I know.
So, but you just can't stay there.
Yeah. Again, yeah. Experience it and then fight for it.
Yeah. It almost doesn't matter what situation you're in. If you sit in sorrow, that's where you stay.
Mm-hmm.
If you fight for your joy and scrap your way out of it, guess what? There's better days for you.
How do you put like a time frame on it? You said that you don't want to stay there. Like how long do you allow yourself to kind of to be there?
I think the blows kind of determine how long you can wallow.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I know, trying to think. Even like the worst of them, my best friend and I will snatch each other up in about 48 hours. We're like,
Okay. Cool.
time to get up.
Okay. I like that. I like that. It's honest.
Yeah.
You know, you're not saying 10 minutes. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, give it a
Oh,
day
yeah.
or two.
Yeah.
Like a day or two. It
Cry
might,
for 48 hours and
That-
then
that-
you're empty.
yeah, that
Yeah.
might be necessary.
Yeah.
And it's long enough to actually process the
Yeah.
emotions like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. You need to.
Mhm.
So another thing I have on my list is your people.
Mm.
So lean into your people, stay connected with others. Again, don't wallow.
Mhm.
The worst thing you can do as an injured person is shut yourself off from the world. So you want to stay active, you want to stay engaged with people. If you still have the opportunity to be around the sports that feed you, do that because that's going to feed your drive to get back or whatever it is. If it's not sports, I obviously am a very sports person.
Sure.
And
Uh-huh.
so that's what feeds me to get back. I love volunteering at races. I've done that many times when I can't race or can't do anything. Same for wakeboarding comps, like volunteering in a space where people are amped and happy.
So just be in the environment.
Be there.
Yeah, I love that.
Be there. Encourage others. Be
Mhm.
a part of it.
Do you feel like you intake that energy from others while you're there?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I remember I was listening to your podcast and you had mentioned doing a marathon. Have you ever volunteered for one?
No.
If you do, I bet you'll race again.
All right, Sean, we're signing up.
Hey man, we already got some races ready, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got the High Rocks race.
Yeah.
Oh,
coming up,
nice.
so.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
But no, I've never volunteered.
I think that would be pretty fun though. I would
that
love
would-
to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
we should do
around
that.
this area, we have the half Ironman in Galveston. There's an Ironman in the Woodlands.
Mhm.
So you have the huge marathon. There's a bunch of small races.
Okay.
Like hop in.
Yeah. Well, connect us to the person that can help us do that. We'll
Absolutely.
try to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
You know, kind of get in there in that community. You got anything else on your list?
Oh, let's see. Find
Because
inspiration.
I want to get into like the physical stuff as well. you know?
Yeah, I have maintained healthy lifestyle. So we talked about that.
Mhm.
Ooh, keep your diet in check.
Ugh.
That one's so hard. I am an all or nothing person. This is what gets me the most.
Mhm.
I am an all or nothing person. And when I get injured, my diet goes out the window.
That happened to me with my shoulder
Which
for
just
sure.
makes recovery so much worse. Because even after you recover, you still have to get back to where you were when you could have just maintained. And so,
Yeah, I was. I hate sharing this, but like I was like in the worst shape of my adult life, probably about like 5-6 months ago.
yeah.
Yeah, the worst I've
Yeah.
been. Like I lost weight and really got into fitness probably about 12 or 13 years ago, and changed my life or whatever. And stayed in decent shape, pretty much the whole time. But I don't know, about 6 months ago, the shoulder thing, it was just so depressing in my
Yeah.
diet. Just
I want chocolate.
faded away. My running, I had a shoulder problem. There's no reason I couldn't run. Wasn't doing it. Just wasn't happening.
Dude, I've been
You
there.
know.
I
Yeah,
know.
it was rough. It was
Yeah.
rough. All right. Well, anything else you want to go over on the psychology stuff, before we kind of start talking about like tangible things that we can do to overcome?
Yeah, I think the last thing I would say is like just be patient and
Mm-hmm.
have grace for yourself. I think people want to like rush things and be aggravated with themselves, and like that's not going to do anything helpful.
Sure.
Just be patient in the process and trust the process.
Mhm.
Get yourself around people who know what they're doing, and then just do what you're told.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so you're a fan of, you mentioned it a couple times in there. It's like the people that you're around, like
Oh.
make sure that they're supporting your
Yeah.
journey as well.
Oh, I'm huge about the people you keep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because I'm kind of a loner, I'm an only child. I think that's where that comes from. So I kind of like to spend time by myself.
I think
know.
that's okay.
Uh-huh.
I love to spend time by myself, but there's also times where you need people.
Sure.
And it's important to monitor who has input into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you need people that are going to speak life into you, not
Very true.
not drag you into the wallow.
Yeah. Some people enjoy that,
I don't have them in my life.
Yeah, it's hard to cut them out sometimes.
I think it's just like an energy thing. Like you were saying, volunteering, going to the events that you can't partake in anymore
Mhm.
because of an injury, and you kind of absorb the energy and the good vibes from all that. I think that some people that kind of work in the opposite way, they
Mhm.
kind of absorb and feed off of that negative energy, and then the more people they can pull into that, the better. So it's like, kind of cutting those people out as
Yeah.
quick as possible.
Yeah, you hate to think that people don't want the best for you, but some people get jealous
Yes.
and they enjoy when you're down.
Yeah. I hate saying this, but I think what's going on in a lot of these situations is the lower that they see others, the more okay they become. You
Yeah.
know, so if you're down low, it makes them feel better about also being
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, you can't chase your dreams, so it's okay that they're not doing it either.
They're not. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Well, let's talk about some of the physical stuff,
Let's
like
go.
some real rehab, right? And let's I don't know, we can either try to keep it general or we can talk about some common things. What do you think is a better way, to kind of approach that,
Um,
or maybe both? I don't know.
kind of both. So I can tell you how I approach it in my gym if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Someone, you have an injury, a client or has an injury, like what are we doing physically, structure wise, program wise? What are you looking for? How are we going to progress through this thing? How do we put timelines on it?
Yep. So first of all, I am not a physical therapist.
Okay.
And I love physical therapists.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
I love pictures.
Okay.
So if you have an injury and you're unsure about it, one of the first things I'm going to tell you to do is go get pictures. Like we can't do anything unless we know what's wrong.
Sure.
There are some things like I can, they're like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. You just have a second degree sprain. It's okay.
Mhm.
And then some you're like, I'm not touching you.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
I need some protocol. So, like Elevated and some other places, I love working with the therapists because they're smarter than me.
Sure. Yeah.
And I love working with people that are smarter than me.
Yeah,
And
whenever I talk to someone that is overcoming something, I always make sure they're cleared with their physical therapist, and then I usually ask for the physical therapist's protocol.
Yeah, me too.
What exercises did you have? Did they have you doing?
Excellent.
And we're just looking for progressions of that,
Nice.
because this is not my specialty. I'm hoping to learn something from you today, But yeah, so how do we? Maybe let's do that. Someone has been through physical therapy, right? And they're cleared, but they're still experiencing some pain. They're not 100%. Maybe that's a good place that we can pick up as well.
Okay, so where's the injury?
Yeah, let's
Hamstring.
let's pick one muscle related thing and maybe one joint related thing
Okay.
or something like that for the lower body. Yeah, let's go hamstring. I feel like that's a common one,
We could do hamstring shoulder.
Yeah.
Hamstring, shoulder.
Yeah, sure.
Yours.
Sure. Yeah.
So I love bands.
Mm-hmm.
So for the shoulder, I would definitely start off with just a bunch of banded work.
Mm-hmm.
So like the real thin, light, long band, hook it. I have rigs, so we'll tie it to the rig.
Yeah,
You're just gonna do your pulls in
Mhm.
every direction, lots of control, nice and slow,
Mhm.
very small movements, but they'll still probably cook your shoulder.
Oh yeah, for sure. I learned that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
learned that.
And so I think that's a great way. So the things that I like to target, I guess in general, the things that I like to target are going to be your range of motion
Mm-hmm.
and stability.
Okay.
Those are first.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was talking about earlier, like keeping it kind of broad. That's
Yeah.
true across the board,
Yes.
right? Okay. So let's talk about what range of motion is and what stability is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the range of motion is the motion that your joint will move freely.
Mhm.
So however far you can hinge your arm backwards, that's going to be it. However far you go down, it's the same for interior and anterior. But it's how well the joint moves. And so most people in today's society do not move their joints through their full range of motion, which decreases that anyways. And so we want to look there. Also, in things like the shoulders, I like to look and see if it's a shoulder issue or if your scap is moving, and what else is going on in your upper thoracic. But
Well, with range of motion, the goal is going to be to increase it, right?
At least to like a pretty normal range. You just want to make sure that it's clearing to what would be considered normal.
Right.
And so,
And I would define normal as the ability to do the activities that person wants to do. Is that a good way to define normal?
it's relatively a decent one. I would honestly just compare it to their other arm.
Oh, okay. What a great way. Yeah.
They have a normal.
Yeah. So compare it to the non-injured side, right?
Yep. And
Okay.
so, and then you would add a little bit of resistance with that range of motion. So like very slightly, because you still want them to go all the way through their range of motion with just the slightest bit of resistance. And then you start building that strength.
Yeah. So we want to be able to do all the same exercises. When do you think it's okay to start doing the exercises that you did, maybe with lighter load, less weight, that you were doing before the injury happened? Is there like a protocol that you have for that?
No, I wish there was, but every body is so different.
Yeah.
And every person is so different. So like I said earlier, between the 46-year-old average patient or the athlete, like the athlete's going to fly there. This person's going to crawl there. So you can't necessarily put a timeline on it, but it's more just like clearing things without pain lasting.
Yeah. So it's okay to feel like a little bit of something while you're doing it, but you don't want the pain to last. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes.
I experienced the same thing. Yeah. With my shoulder,
Yeah. While you're doing it, it's the worst.
Yeah. It's like a little uncomfortable, you feel a little bit of pain, you kind of adjust a little bit, but then you feel better later.
Yeah.
That's when like, okay, I can go to the next thing.
Yes. You definitely don't want to hurt the next day from it.
Mm-hmm. What about the stability thing? Like what, how would you define stability and how do we make it better?
Define stability. I never thought of defining that. How would you define it?
I think I would define it as the ability to be stable while you're doing a certain exercise.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's just how I define it. I was curious if that makes sense.
That's perfect.
To you. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But yes, so the ability to stay stable.
Yes.
And that's in your shoulders. So if you were to put your arms straight up and like I had a band.
Yeah.
And I like, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. Bothered you a little bit, that you could maintain keeping your arm up.
Yes. Yeah.
And the same for your leg. If you stand on one leg, can you hold it there and for how long?
For a period of time.
Yes.
Yeah. For the period of time that's necessary to do the activity that you want to do.
I use a bare minimum of 1 minute to progress to the next thing.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that. Like, give me an example.
So if you are standing on one leg, you're going to go a slight bend, don't lock it out, stand on one leg. You need to stand there for 1 minute before we'll progress you to the next thing. And that will be, like, the next thing could be your single leg deadlift or, like, balance on a bozu or something like that. But even for running protocol, because running is essentially a single leg sport because you only have one leg on the ground at a time.
Sure.
So our running protocol, like a test, if you want to run, is you stand on one foot and you take your other shoe off, take your other sock off. You have to put your other sock back on and put your other shoe on and tie it. And then you do it on the other leg. Can you do those? If not, you're not stable enough to run.
Wow.
One more time. You said you stand on one.
I don't know
foot?
if I can do that.
Do what? Stand on one.
You stand on one foot.
Okay.
And you take off your other shoe. And then you take off your other sock.
Yes.
And then you put your sock back on. And you put your shoe on. And you tie your shoe.
While the foot's still in the air.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why are you standing on one leg?
I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Prove it.
What camera angle do you got here? I'm trying to see. Wait 1 second. Okay.
I want to see if you can do
Where's
it.
my phone?
Let's see.
I want to see if
This
you
is
can.
the first ever OCD. Let's see. Let's watch.
I want to see if you can do it.
So you said that you take one foot off and one sock off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So-
leave the foot on. Just take the shoe off.
Okay, so one shoe off.
Can you use the other hand like that?
Yeah, he can use both hands.
One sock off.
And then you got to put the sock back on.
Then sock back on. Feet picked for free. And then the shoe.
And then the shoe back on.
Do you see?
Oh!
Wait.
He's got it. He's got it.
Little bounce, little
Do
bounce.
you see that single leg RDL he just pulled to
Little
pick that
bounce.
shoe up?
Oh
Dang.
man! So he can run at least on one leg.
Dang, Sean, that was impressive, dude.
Well, the reason I was listening back to it because I do that every morning. Like every morning.
Do you really?
That's how you put on your shoes.
What an inefficient way to put your sausage shoes on.
Yeah, like
Unless you're fighting for stability.
Yeah, I guess so.
So yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah, we can balance on stuff.
Let's
Wow.
go. Hey, we
Dang.
can balance on stuff.
Dang.
Yeah, stability and flexibility is super, super important to me.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
So what range of motion test can we take him through now? Like, let's do something else. No, that was great. Yeah, it's very impressive, Sean. Very impressive.
So I have to listen back to the rules. I was like, wait a second. This sounds familiar.
This is just my morning routine. That's amazing. Well
All right,
done.
So Sean has good stability.
He can run.
Yeah, he's a runner now. I love it. I'm gonna try it later off camera.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it later
Wise.
off camera.
He almost kicked the light down.
All right. Well, so we got stability, which we know Sean has, and we
Yes.
have range of motion. So your main goal when you're going through any type of injury in a physical situation is to find a way to get your range of motion and your stability back to normal.
Yes, that is where you start.
And that's going to look different for each person.
Yes. I mean, it's going to be different for the person and the injury. And so, but yeah, it's all pretty.
What are 3 common ones? And what do you think the time frame would be for each of those? Let's talk about the hamstring strain.
Mhm.
Let's talk about so my shoulder was a slap tear. Are you familiar with that?
A little bit.
Yeah. I had like a shoulder situation. That took me like 6 months. It was quite a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe something like an ankle sprain or something like that. Like, what's your time frame on minor injuries like that?
Oh, I was just talking to an athlete this week. He sprained his ankle, and he said, "Doctor said he was in a boot. He said, doctor said I'd be back to normal in 2 weeks in the boot." I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
He's like, what? I was like, that's normal for somebody walking to a desk and sitting down.
Yeah, you might be able to
Like-
walk, but
like
you're not
you-
going to be able to pre-injury
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah, you want snowboarding, skateboarding, surfing, you're looking at 3 months.
Uh-huh.
He's like, oh no. I'm like, I'm sorry. But if you want to do those pain free
Yeah.
with your range of motion that you need to do those,
Mm-hmm.
like you're looking at 3 months.
So that's going to go back to the mental things that we talked about earlier. Because 3 months doesn't seem like that long, but when you're in that moment of an injury and you are
It's
an
the rest
athlete,
of my life.
exactly, right? So that's when we wrap back to
Especially when you're like going into seasons. So he's like, that's the entire snowboarding season. So
this guy lives here.
yeah,
He's a snowboarder.
he likes to snowboard. He's
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've only seen snow like 3 times in my life. You know?
snowboarding's my favorite activity.
Really?
I love it.
I've never done it.
Oh, you got to try it.
Yeah, Denver really wants to go skiing soon,
Nice.
so we'll see where we can fit that in. But it seems dangerous. I'm like a low risk of injury person. I will not do activities if the risk of injury is
It
very
may not
high.
be your sport then.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that maybe is even more important than that, which is like preventing injuries in the first place.
Oh, it's my favorite subject.
Yeah. So this is really where we wanted to get to, right? So
Yes.
let's talk about preventing injuries in the first place. What are your key principles for that?
Okay, so we already talked about range of motion
Mhm.
and stability.
Yep.
Now you're going to use the same 2 principles and you're going to add strength.
Okay.
And so it's the same thing.
Mhm.
But I wrote these down too. So
Okay.
you want to make sure there are some things that I have in my gym that everybody has to do.
Okay.
And it's going to be single leg work.
Mhm.
It's going to be lateral movement.
Mhm.
And those things are like hardcore preached. Like you have to do them because normal life has them and
Mhm.
nobody trains you for them.
Can you give me examples?
So like even like single leg deadlifts,
Mhm.
we do hip airplanes. Are you familiar with those?
You know, in exercise, there's a million names for
Yeah.
stuff, right? So
Yeah,
I
they-
think you almost like
You hinge down,
you hinge
and then
down.
you rotate on your hip
while the
And
other leg is also
Yeah.
in the air, right?
Yeah.
And you rotate.
so your body's in a straight line. You're standing on one leg.
Uh-huh.
Your body's in a straight line, and then you just drop your hip, and then you raise your
Ah.
hip back up.
maybe I'm not familiar with this.
Oh, need to add it into your
I'm
life.
going to.
It's a good one. So I love that. We do
Okay.
a lot of single leg deadlifts or even like hip hurdles where you
And
sit down.
You do the airplane as a warm up, or
We usually do it in a post. Like I have like sections of single leg work,
okay.
and we do them probably twice a week.
Mm.
And
Sets reps.
we usually run like 3 sets, 10 reps each.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty.
So yeah, pretty standard, pretty
Okay.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
Single leg deadlifts, we love those. Hip hurdles, we love those. Skaters are awesome.
Can you kind of give me a description of each of these?
Yes. So a single leg deadlift would be kind of like the first motion of that hip airplane. So you can do it weighted or unweighted depending on where you're at. And you're going to stay straight from your knee to your shoulder. And then you're going to hinge on one hip. So keeping that one side straight, you're just going to hinge down with control. Try not to shift your weight into your hand going down and then control it back up. I really like to see people not touch their free leg back down when they're standing and just be able to control it and go back down into their next one and then come back up. And then you just add weight as you get more proficient in that. A hip hurdle, you sit down against the wall, your legs are out straight, and then you have like a hurdle and you just lift your legs straight up and over.
Okay.
And then you do it again. It is the simplest, smallest thing. That is so hard. But that gives you that strength and stability in your hip flexor.
Wow. And these are things you're recommending post workout, you said.
Yeah, we do them after our Metcon usually.
Okay. Gotcha.
So-
And you had one more. You said there was one more, right?
What did I say?
Hip hurdle and then
Skaters.
Skaters,
So
yeah.
skaters are a lateral, so a sideways hop, going side to side, and it's like a speed skater motion, like an ice speed skater. And so
Okay.
you hop and land on one leg. Your free leg will come behind you, and you don't touch it down. And then you hop the other way. Do the same thing.
10 on each leg, little break.
Yep,
sets.
and you really push on that one. You really want to push to go as wide as you can while still keeping control.
Why are we doing these things after workout? You know, when people think injury prevention, all they think about is warm up, warm up, warm up.
Yeah.
Why is this after workout time important also?
Because I do a lot of accessory work after workouts.
After your core workout.
After your core workouts. Because doing these things right before that workout is not going to help you with that workout. It's not going to prevent anything in that workout. But involving them into your normal routine is going to pay dividends down the road. So
you're not necessarily preparing. In a warm-up, you're preparing for the workout you're about to do.
correct.
Right? And maybe we can talk about that too if you have tips for that. But what you're saying is by doing it after your workout, even though it's after your workout, it's part of your normal routine. You're going to do it all the time or twice a week. Like you said, like if you work out 3 times a week or 4 times a week or whatever, at least twice a week, you're going to go through these things after you work out to actually build strength and stability, not necessarily get ready for a workout.
Yes.
I love that. It's just a different mentality.
And I like doing it when they're fatigued.
I knew there was a trick to this. I knew there was a trick to
And
this.
I'm just mean.
Yeah. I knew there was a trick. Okay. Well, those are all lower body things, right?
Yes.
Do you have anything like that? The upper body wise that you recommend?
For the upper body, we usually roll with the I like Turkish get-ups.
Okay.
And so lots of shoulder stability and strength in that. And it definitely goes all the way through your range of motion.
Yeah.
So I love the push off the floor and the push into the sky.
Okay.
And then lots of band work is usually what we use for that.
Also, after you work out?
That depends on the workout.
Okay.
A lot of those end up being warm-ups.
Okay.
Because we're going to do like pull-ups or something like that.
Okay. So you're just kind of getting the shoulder range of motion going, getting ready for the pull-up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
we add those into the beginning. So
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. Did you have anything in particular that you do recommend, like warm-up wise? Like, do you have any specific things, or if there's anything else like injury prevention wise that you really believe in, or that I can learn from you?
I wouldn't say I have any warm-up specific things for like the general thing. So just definitely make sure you're warming up properly for whatever you're about to do. If you are about to do a bench press, especially a heavy bench press, you should not do a 5-minute warm-up. Your warm-up should be 15 to 20 minutes of pretty decent work.
Okay.
So you can get the plates out and you like mini plates and work those shoulders.
Rotations.
Your warm-up should feel like a workout.
Wow, interesting.
So because you're about to do heavy things. So if you don't, you're just going to tear something up, especially now that it's winter.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so-
When it's colder outside.
Yep. You want to get those warm-ups done really well.
Uh-huh.
So it's the same for like if you're going to go deadlifts or back squats. Just make sure you are warming up appropriately for what you're about to do. And your warm-up is not 5 minutes long.
Yeah. So the warm up's going to be at least if you're working hard.
Yes. If you're going to lift heavy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something different, then it would look different. Like if you're like running,
Mhm.
are you familiar with the Hinshaw
Hinshaw?
warm-up?
No.
Oh, you got to look that up.
Dang.
You need my pen? You
I-
need to taking notes.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We're recording this.
Yeah, I haven't
Oh,
heard
yeah.
the Hinshaw. I haven't heard of that.
What is that?
I can't remember his first name, but he is a runner and he came up with this almost perfect running warm up. And so it's got your like karaoke styles, your high knees, your butt kicks, but then it's also got your A skips and your B skips and like a full like lunging, and it's
How long does it take?
fantastic. Probably like 10, 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
So it sounds like around, 10 to 15 minutes is like a sufficient warm up.
Yes.
But my favorite takeaway from this is definitely that a warm up is a preparation for that workout. It is not a preparation for or setting you up for injury prevention.
Correct.
It's more of a getting ready for what you're about to do.
Yes, your injury prevention is a plan of its own.
Yes. That you like to do when you're already a little bit fatigued or a lot fatigued.
Yes.
Hmm.
Unless you're doing full injury prevention sets.
Yeah,
like
now unless
sessions.
you're actually injured.
Because I do a lot of full sessions that are just like
Oh.
things that would be considered injury prevention.
What is a lot? Like once a week or?
I probably do them twice a week.
Can you tell me about that? What's that look like?
So I usually start off with just a run. I like a light jog to warm up. And
Okay.
then I do a lot of single leg deadlifts. Most of my work I do on a Bozu ball.
Okay.
And so I'll start off with just like some squats to get warmed up. I'm still on the stability ball. And then Bozu ball, not
know what you
not a full stability ball.
Yeah, I know what you
I'm not that good. And then,
That would be crazy. A single leg deadlift on a stability ball?
yep. And then I always have Turkish get-ups in there.
Okay.
I like, something I didn't mention earlier that I like is like a plank windmill. So you go up on a plank and you rotate up.
I do those.
Those are fantastic
Yeah,
for
I
your
do
shoulders.
those.
And so I do those.
And is this workout, is this hard? Like, is this a hard workout or are you kind of like chilling or?
You feel like you're working, but you're not like out of breath.
Okay.
And so
Mm.
it's, except for Turkish get-ups, I get a little
Yeah,
out of
those are
breath on
tough.
Turkish
Yeah, those are
get-ups.
tough. I haven't done that in a very long time.
But everything else is like pretty chill. I've gotten to where I use kind of more of a moderate to heavy weight when I do things, which is great.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like to stay stable. Bulgarian split squats are
those are
awesome.
great. You do that on a rehab day?
Injury prevention, not rehab.
Injury prevention day?
Yeah. Single leg, baby.
She is crazy, Sean. She is crazy. She is crazy.
Single leg work is so good for just
Yeah.
I mean running in general,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I do like a good amount of running and I love leg days. So it's like those two, like I always try to keep some type of really good split squat variation or something
Yes.
in there.
Yes. And everybody needs to be doing their lower body and their balance stuff is so important, especially as you age.
Sure. Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, the main takeaways that I'm getting are be patient, be gracious, surround yourself with good people, work on your range of motion and stability. Don't just warm up, or your warm ups are meant for your workouts, not for your injury prevention. And injury prevention should be a plan of its own. Those are my main takeaways.
Solid takeaways.
Did I miss anything there?
I don't think so. Honestly, while you were speaking, I was like, he's really good at recall. That's why I have the clipboard.
We've done over 100 of these.
He doesn't need a clipboard.
Yeah, we've done a lot of these. So yeah, it takes practice. It takes practice. But well, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we kind of wrap up? Anything you want to throw in there?
I think I would like to add how important, I know I just said it, but how important it is for all ages to do this.
Okay.
So I know I speak a lot from the athletic stance because that's one, a lot who I work with, and two, who I've been.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's the same thing on a different scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you age, you lose bone mass and your stability, which makes you fall. And so if you can lift weights and you can keep your stability, it's a less likely that you're going to fall. And then if you pair this with the fact that if you fall and break a hip over the age of 65, there's a 1 in 4 chance you're going to die in the next year.
Mhm.
And that's a big stat. But it's so easy to prevent.
To prevent in the first place.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's what I want people to know.
Mhm.
Like, I love the athletes and stuff, but let's just stay alive.
Yeah, exactly. for a long time
So
and feel good.
I have heard you talk about that
staying
before.
alive
And
is pretty
it's
dope.
like you want to live to like some crazy age, right? Have you mentioned it on a podcast?
Probably.
I feel like you said
Yeah,
something
yeah,
absurd.
yeah.
I was like, I do not care to live that long. But
you want to live well. For that long.
my goal is to live really well until I die,
Mhm.
whatever number that is. And
Okay.
so that's what we want.
Well, we're gonna make it a real big number. I feel like a part of living a long time is having a good attitude, and there's nobody in this world that has that better than you. So
Thank you. Oh.
we could all. I think that I'm gonna add that to my takeaway list. That would be like probably number 1, and then everything else,
Oh wow.
because that's just so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. You see, obviously, I'm a health person, right? We promote health. We want
Mhm.
people to live well, eat healthy, exercise, right? But from my understanding, from what I can see, I'm not a doctor, not a scientist. The people that live the longest have an emotional intelligence. They have a gratitude and a happiness about their day. Things don't bring them down. They live stress free. Those are the things that actually extend our lives, And then obviously we have the other physical things as well. But you obviously have that. And I think that we could all learn something from that. So, Sean, you got anything else?
I do have 2 questions. Both are centered around Ironman. So my first question is, what is your favorite event in the
Swimming.
Ironman? Swimming?
Easy.
Really?
Love to swim. I'm like a fish.
Okay.
His face. I
All right.
love to swim. I've learned to like to run, which is good. This next year I'll have my first marathon and my first ultra.
Wow.
Nice.
Gotta knock them out at the same time, and then I can be done with them.
She should meet Eli.
Yeah. I think y'all would be really good friends, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always down for friends.
Yeah, he's actually going through an injury. He used to be my run coach, and we talk pretty often. He's actually going through an injury right now, and I was just like, "Yeah, man, are you still going to run your ultra?" He's like, "Yes, of course." And I was like,
What
"I
kind
love
of question
that. I
is
love
that?
that."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I felt when I hurt my ankle.
And then, so my second one is you did mention a DNF, and you said that you DNF'd at the start line. I wanted to ask what. No, that's not what you said.
No, I made it to the start line. I didn't DNF at the start line.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So you made it to the start line and you did DNF. I guess my question was the mental struggles of how you felt during that DNF and how you got over that.
That one I wallowed over for a bit.
48. She took the 48-hour max.
I took the max.
Yeah.
I had to fight my way out of that one. It was hard. So to get to this start line, it adds way more to it. So I trained. My race was supposed to be March of 2020. So it wasn't. And so it got canceled.
Yeah.
And so they canceled, or April, it got canceled in March. And then I was registered to race in November. They rescheduled the race here for November. And they canceled it 3 days before.
Oof.
And I already had been training for 18 months to get to the first one and then the next one. And so it was after November, it was the October after that I finally got to race. And so I raced that. I came in prepared. I was good to go. But some unforeseen things happened, which you always want to be prepared. So I started my swim. Like I said, fish. I got kicked in the face pretty bad. So I lost my swim cap and my goggles. That's fine. I'm a fish. And so I just finished out the swim. I was okay. But then the bike started and I got bumped off the course. So I wrecked my bike. I mean, this is like a mile or two in. It's like, oh, great.
man.
So I check it out. Like I got a couple scrapes. I'm fine. My derailleur on my bike is a little bit off, but it's okay. It's just going to be annoying. And so I got back on my bike and started going again. And then I hit a like a crack in the road and it pinched the tube of my tire. And when I did that, I guess the stress got to me and I threw up. So
That's not what I was expecting.
Some people break down crying.
me neither. I wasn't expecting it either. But see, here's the thing. It was a noon start for this race. It was 95 degrees out. And I have a fainting disorder linked to my electrolytes. And as soon as I threw up, I was like, this is about to be a really bad day. And so I started cramping not long after that. And then it just got worse and worse. And then they pulled me off the course. I had like 2 miles left of the bike and they pulled me off the course. And so I was like, if I can just get back. I mean, like, I had somebody give me table salt from their home on the course. And I just like threw it back and like just kept, like, I was like, I got to do this. And so, but it was really, really hard because I prepared everything that I could, the best that I could. I had not thrown up in the 3 years of training, so I had no reason to think I was going to throw up then. So I only had enough nutrition for what I needed on the bike. And so and there's just no way I can take in enough after that to make up for what my body does to it. And so it was extremely, extremely hard. I was also very grateful because if they would have allowed me to race to continue, I was probably 45 minutes to an hour and a half max of putting myself in the hospital being hypernutremic. So it was a good thing. These officials know what they're doing. But yeah.
That perspective shift definitely helps.
It
So
was-
how'd you pull yourself out? That sounds rough.
It was hard.
Sounds like a bad race day.
Yeah, it was a real bad race day. So luckily I raced with a big organization called TriDot, and we had some great coaches and stuff there. So when I got back to my tent, my family wasn't even there because they're off looking for me because they know something has gone wrong. And so I come back and one of the coaches grabs me. He goes, "Oh, this isn't good." He took my bike and parked it somewhere and then grabbed my arm and dragged me off. He said, "What happened?" He's like, "Cry, yell, I don't care." So like I went through all of it and just like unloaded on him. And he's like, "It's going to be okay." So I pulled it back together. My family came, my nieces and nephews. I'm real big about living a life that if they were to replicate, would make me proud. And so pulled it together and we had a great race day cheering on other racers. And then I like slow sobbed every now and then. But yeah, the next couple days, it took me a while to like go through it all. So,
You had to experience those emotions.
Yep.
Yeah. And then when was the next race that you finished?
It was a while.
Yeah.
I had already planned before I hit that start line because I had been training for that race for over 3 years that I was done. I was tired of training triathlon because it's a lot. And so I took a break. So that was October 2021, I guess. And then I just raced past December a year ago for my 70.3. So I took a decent break.
Sometimes you need it. Yeah, sometimes you need it.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. I just love to hear the story. I know training, like I haven't ran a 70.3, but just training in general, it kind of turns into like a part-time job. It gets so all-encompassing, especially depending on how much, what your goals are, how much you're trying to push, how far you're trying to run. It's like, I was just trying to run a sub-hour 10K, and I was like, man, I feel like I'm having to do a lot of training and a lot of running, and this is just 10K. So I can only imagine for the full marathon or even the half marathon distance. So I mean, to come back after something like that is truly, truly commendable. That's great.
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah,
I won't stay defeated.
I see that.
I love that.
Well, any last words before we finish up here?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I had
for
so much
sure.
fun.
Yeah.
Talking about some of my favorite things.
That's what we try to do.
Yes,
just
ma'am.
keep it fun. So, I guess, where do people find you? Where's your gym at, social, stuff like that?
Third Coast Athletics and Wellness. You can Google that, or it's all Third Coast AW. So the Instagram, the Facebook, online, thirdcoastaw.com. You do have to spell out third. That one trips people up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Spell it out.
Yeah.
Third Coast AW at Instagram, whatever.
Okay.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Make sure you follow Alex and everything Third Coast Athletics and Wellness, and we'll see you next time.